is Mary, and this is my no-buy year. Good morning. This week, perhaps because it was testing week, I decided to step outside my comfort zone and dip into the eponymous Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. While I'm very comfortable controlling jewel tone pigments such as these in oil paint, it's much more daunting to use the more intense, highly pigmented pigments in dry powder form on my eyelids. So if you're interested to see what I made of this palette and how I translated this to a work-appropriate look, please stick around. Before I get into the theater of identity, I did want to talk about two products today. These were late purchases in 2018. The mask is just about done. This is actually my second use of this Tony Moly mask. All right, my skin has already been prepped with a kind of a Saturday morning vitamin C brightening mask and moisturizer. Every time I sit down to film, I have a hair sticking in my eye. So this morning, I'd like to just walk you through my weekly setup. This, again, was testing week in North Carolina, and I really wanted something trouble-free, but with a little something, a little spark to act as solve for the dire state of testing in schools these days. Certainly was never my experience when I was in high school. All right, so I have moisturizer, I have sunscreen on my face. For my base this week, I decided to draw from my luxury collection. This is the Tom Ford Traceless Foundation Stick in Cream. And again, this was a late December 2018 purchase. If I dial it all the way back, really just a tiny bit has been used. So I do feel that even using this foundation on a regular basis, it will last through most of 2019. All right, so for application color, I feel it's a wonderful match. I purchased this from Blue Mercury, sight unseen, based on another YouTuber's foundation matches, which generally work out really well for me, as it did in this case. So one stripe across the forehead, a little bit down the nose, across two stripes across the cheek where I have redness and hyperpigmentation, one stripe across the chin. I do have a tiny fresh spot. This was testing week, and I brought chocolate in for my students. So of course I consumed chocolate, and chocolate is one of my hormonal acne triggers, but it was worth it. All right, this is just kind of a generic Clinique stippling brush, which came free with some other product. I can't recall what that product was. And I'm just going to begin by pressing, tapping, stippling before I rub the product out. A little bit on my eyes is where I get discoloration, but I do have a concealer step, so I'm not too worried. I'm just looking for an even canvas. Does not feel thick or sticky. I really enjoyed this foundation, and I was skeptical. I wasn't certain it would work with my skin type, because my skin type is kind of in a winter pattern. It's actually working quite well. I will show you a check-in after let's see, 6 a.m. to roughly 5 p.m., just about 11 hours. With only minor touch-up required. Although I don't believe it pitches itself as a long-wear foundation. Alright, and I'm just, after stippling, I'm just brushing it out in one direction. If you have any peach fuzz on your face, you don't really want to buff. You want to just lay some of that down. Alright, and brushing out towards my hairline. I feel like the finish is you'll see in about 15-20 minutes, the finish is a very natural finish. It becomes ever so slightly more dewy, but never looks greasy on me. And generally I have normal combination, slightly oily in the T-zone skin. I'm in a winter pattern where I use Curology as my Tretinoin. I actually dialed back on the dosage of Tretinoin. My current formula is a 0.035 Tretinoin, 5% Azelaic acid, and 4% Niacinamide. And so far this is working real well for me. I don't have any peeling. I'll give it about a week or so before I can confirm that I have conquered the winter peeling. Alright, so that is a fairly even base. I'm not worried about a little redness. I'm not looking for cover photo shoot or editorial look. I'm just looking to even out my skin tone and make my skin look better and healthier than it is to the naked eye. This is a Bite Beauty lip balm, which is wonderful. Very thick and moisturizing. It's the Agave lip balm in a tube, and this one has a color, I believe it's in the Champagne Rose family. I will list all of these products down below in the description box. Super hydrating, takes care of any kind of flakiness you may have with your central heat and your winter skin. Alright, couple dabs of my Clé de Peau Radiant Corrector, which I'm using as a concealer. Mostly in that corner where I get some darkness. And that's going to be it. I'm going to tap this in before I decide if I want to run more up on my lid. Very thick product. And I feel I generally put too much on in the first application. I love the properties of this concealer. I was very skeptical, very spendy, did not want to love it, but I truly feel the quantity in this pen will last throughout 2019. I would rather buy one excellent product and not have to buy 3 or 4 and noodle around and never use them. Alright, so that was just a few taps. I feel like that's fairly even. I still have a little discoloration on my lids, so I will go in with another tap or two. Because I am going for a more pigmented eyeshadow look today, to replicate what I did this week with my Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette.
Alright, so I feel like you can see the difference between the coverage on this concealed eyelid and this still to be concealed eyelid. Very comfortable product.
I'm fairly careless around my eye, And I have very sensitive eyes, and this doesn't ever sting or aggravate or cause me to tear. Really appreciate that. Alright, now I'm going to lightly set my foundation with the Clé de Peau finishing translucent finishing powder. This foundation is not set. It's a little sticky. It would certainly transfer to other things. I will start with the amount in the cap on my just chubby Sephora synthetic brush. If I had two of the Wayne Goss airbrushes, I would possibly use that for this step, but I've also heard that Blue Squirrel does not like cream products. Cream products can quickly degrade the Blue Squirrel natural hair, so I think a synthetic brush is fine for something like this. Alright, and just with the remainder in the brush and on the cap, I'm going to tap onto my forehead. Very much mattifies, but in about 15 minutes you'll see that dialed back a little bit. And then the outer portion of my cheek, my chin, not up onto the front of my face where I do want some shine, but certainly over my nose, T-zone, and kind of in the wing of my nose where I get a little bit of redness, and where my foundation tends to break down a little bit from my natural oils. Alright, so powdered blank canvas is ready to go. All week I've been enjoying, again, my Bobbi Brown bronzer in Stone Street. Still have not made a dent. This was a late 2018 December Sephora order, taking advantage of the VIB Rouge. My Tom Ford bronzer brush. Natural hair, don't run out and purchase the synthetic version, which is the same price, but not nearly the same quality. Little across the bridge. I dab a little under my eye. As you'll see, I'll go in and kind of make a layer of bronzer on my lids to disguise that hooded lid. Alright, and for that, very bushy Wayne Goss number 16 blending brush. All over the outer corner, all the way up onto that hood. Swirl just 2 or 3 times because I am interested in a wash of warm tone to mimic shade instead of having those heavy hoods catch so much light. Shaded things recede, lit things come forward, and I do not want that hood to come forward. Alright, just a little puffy Sephora packing brush, eyeshadow brush, but I run a little bit of this under my eye, again to disguise the fact that I have a heavy hood casting a shadow on my lower lid, and that catches too much light, and it, again, emphasizing that heavy hood. So that is sort of the base, that is the base look. That is just prepping things for the next stage. Alright, I am looking for my 2 Sonia G worker brushes. The number 2 is the larger size, and the number 3 is the slightly smaller size. Both of these are natural goat hair. I love them. I will keep handy my Wayne Goss number 16. And at this point, I'm going to start building up the eye look with my Modern Renaissance palette. Alright, so to emphasize what I've already done in the crease, to carve out my crease, to create a crease that's higher than my natural crease, and to allow the illusion of a larger mobile lid, I'm going to go in with Buon Fresco and Warm Taupe. I will dip my brush into both of those shades. Buon Fresco is here. One tap with this powder is fine. I'm going to tap it off and you'll see that would have all fallen out and landed on my face. So again, starting at the outer corner, tapping on that darker pigment, that already gives me dimension and makes my eyes, gives my eyes the illusion of being slightly wider, slightly larger. And I'm just going to blend that across onto my hood and over onto my lid. This would be a suitable just one and done eyeshadow look. Alright, again into Buon Fresco, into Warm Taupe, tapping it off, and I'll hit the other eye, blending across, all the way across the mobile lid, all the way up onto the hood. And I'm just checking for hard lines. This eyeshadow, I feel, tends to blend itself. Very soft, very powdery. So I will probably wait to go back in with my blending brush until until this next step. Alright, so now I'm going to live dangerously. I'm going right into Love Letter, this beautiful fuchsia, raspberry. I tapped in 3 times, and again, tap my brush off. You can see that little puff of pigment flying into the air. And I tend to hit my left eye first. I am tapping into the corner, not quite as high as I went before. You can see that pigment load. And I'm actually going to take it right across my mobile lid. Smoothing out the color. These shadows blend beautifully. I have absolutely no patchiness. I'm going a little bit up into that crease just to blend this raspberry color in with what I already have down in my crease. I'm looking for no hard edges. Tapping again into that Love Letter, repeating on my right eye, which is picking up an unfortunate glare from this ring light in my studio. Alright, just back and forth again, making sure it is completely smoothly blended, no hard edges. And one more dip into Love Letter. I feel that it is a little over blended on this outer corner, which means I lost some of the intensity of the color. So I'm just reinforcing in that corner and intensifying that pigment on both eyes. Alright, now I haven't done anything underneath my lids other than the bronzer, so I'm going back in with that same Sephora brush, and I'm dipping into Warm Taupe in the Modern Renaissance palette, and I'm just going to run that under my lash line. Now, if I weren't going for a work appropriate look, I could go underneath my lash line with that Love Letter, but I'm going for neutral with just a pop of color. All right. So I will hit the upper edge of that shadow with that brush. Still has bronzer on it, just to blend out anything that might read as a hard edge. And really that's it for my eye look, other than liner and mascara. All right, now I could go in with one of these lighter pigments in the center of my mobile lid just to give more dimension to my eye, but I think that I'm going to stay put with that. I'm okay with that. Keeping it simple. Alright, I'm going to go in with some face products before I finish off my eyes and brows. So I'm grabbing my Wayne Goss airbrush and my Surratt face powders. This one is my favorite highlighter. I will link everything below.
Onto the top of my cheeks and over, onto the top of my cheeks, upper cheekbone, center of the forehead. You can see my forehead has already picked up lost some of the flatness from the powder. I do really enjoy that foundation. It is not a flat matte. And just a little on the bridge of my nose. Alright.
Now for blush. I kept everything fairly simple. This is, again, a Surratt face powder. I do like to come over into that bronzer, and I keep my blush application fairly high. And try to link it up with some of the other pigments on my face to disguise this light, which tends to, again, make me look like a peanut. All right, a little bit of color on my forehead, across the bridge of my nose, disguising that little jowliness that we get as we age. So how about eyeliner first? This is my Marc Jacobs in Earthquake, and I will go underneath, right about to halfway under my iris. Warm taupe on that same brush to tap it out. I'm not looking for a hard line, I'm looking for the illusion of lower lashes. And I feel that if I go in immediately with a powder over that liner, I get a soft diffused look. I've also almost completely masked that heavy light that usually catches right there under my hood. So that is what I'm looking for. I am going to do a little faux wing. I need both hands for this. And same thing, warm taupe, just to soften that. This one is my tricky eye, because it's very creepy in the corner. Always has been. But yes, it's becoming more noticeable. Just trying to get rid of any hard angles or edges or lines. Alright, I am good with that. I'm going to do brows with my NYX Wonder Brow, whatever it's called. I will list all these products down in the description box. Really, I am very sloppy with my brows, but I prefer that to a very hard-lined look, and I just enjoy bringing them up and raising my eye level by doing that lightly. I tend to concentrate on the tail of the brow. And I may be horrified when I get in front of a 10x mirror, but we will see. It's easy enough to fix if this is crude because I'm blinded by my studio lighting and my natural blindness. All right. Now, they will not stay combed up. They have a mind of their own. And the brow gel that I have does not do a good job at keeping them bushy and upward facing. This is the Benefit Brow Tones in shade 2. I do like the dimension of having a second color, but it's a pretty ineffective brow gel, I must say. However, not worth running out and buying something else, especially since that would violate my no buy. Alright, so again, I don't mind if things get a little wonky. In fact, I love drawing portraits of the brow area, and the more interesting the brow, I feel the more interesting the portrait. All right, just one more step, and that is lips. I still have quite a bit of that balmy Bite Beauty, so I just rubbed off the excess product. And I feel that I'm going to go with a fairly nude lip in order to not compete with that eye. So I'm looking for my Chanel. I dug through my stash and found my favorite nude lip, which is the Chanel Coco Chanel in color 402, Adrienne. All right, just a lovely, warm nude. I'm not sure, sometimes when I swatch, my arm is rotated in a strange way and doesn't show up, but I feel like you can see that. All right. I've gotten fairly good use out of this. I purchased this probably in October-ish of 2018. I am not using liner. All right. I'm not looking for hard lines, I'm just looking for a bit of pigment and moisture, and this is, I feel, a lovely moisturizing formula. All right, for mascara, I'm going to go with the It Cosmetics. This is just a sample size. I love this mascara. I did not buy a full-size tube when I was purchasing last year, so once this is gone, I'll have to move on to one of the others in my collection. I'm hoping I have a few more weeks with it. It's really wonderful. I do like to use up my tubes, whether they're sample size or regular size, because once you open your mascara, the clock for the expiration starts clicking. Alright, that will be my rainy Saturday look for putzing around the house, doing errands, setting up the last of for my kiddos. after the Monday holiday, when we go back, we have a whole new set of students. This is Diptyque d'Ozoin, my favorite. This is a eau de parfum, which my husband got me for Christmas. It was on my wish list. I love it. I'll do a whole separate video on fragrances, and I also like to finish my hands with this Diptyque lotion, Eau de Rose. It's kind of a light floral, but the notable thing with Diptyque scents is they are so balanced with exotic spice and all of the nuances of an ancient city that I truly, truly love them. They are me. They are my signatures. All right. So, I hope you enjoy your weekend. I hope you're not having cold rain as we are. If you have any favorite combinations with your Modern Renaissance palette, please do let me know in the comment field. Thank you for joining me. Ciao.